Welcome back, everyone, and we have entered the month of the Phoenix. That is right, December 2017, where the fire will rise again. And to commemorate this month, I'm actually resurrecting one of my favorite videos that I've done so far. We're going to do a second part of that, and that obviously is Fanworks number 2. And before we get into that, this month it's going to be all about Ivalice. Basically, we're going to talk about the Ivalice project, all the Final Fantasy Tactics games, Final Fantasy 12, even another game that you may have not known that was in Ivalice is, kind of retroactively. But anyway, this month is definitely Ivalice month. It's going to be similar to, say, the Final Fantasy 7 month whenever we did that compilation. But right now, let's talk a little bit about Fanworks, because I like to start off every month with some kind of more enjoyable topics. So I have two big things here, and they actually aren't specifically for Final Fantasy itself, but more for gaming in general. But there's a lot of things that I want to focus about Final Fantasy on those. So first off, I'm going to start with OCRemix. For those not familiar, OCRemix, or known as OCRemix, is a site where composers submit the remixed music of a specific game, whatever the game that happens to be. And there are thousands upon thousands of remixes for just about every game imaginable. But of course, Final Fantasy, being as popular as it is, has a lot of music that they have remixed. And it'd take me days to go over all of the songs, but I will give you a sampling of 5 or so songs that I would recommend that span the gamut between traditional kind of orchestral music all the way to like electronica. And those 5 songs are Final Fantasy 3, Wings of Eternity, Final Fantasy 6, Let Us Dance in the Dark Phantom Forest, Final Fantasy 7, Space Station of the Ancients, Final Fantasy 8, Man with Another Trance Machine, and then another Final Fantasy 8 being Rain in Chicago. You will find a link below for those specific remixes, so go check them out. You may find something that you like, and hopefully, it'll get you kind of in the community. It's a fantastic community. So OCRemix has been around for a long time. It started in December of 1999, and, spanning all of those years, 2009 was 10 years. We're coming up, I guess, in a few years on its 20th anniversary. There are a wealth of songs. There's so many songs on there that it'd take you days to listen to them all sequentially. And before I leave the OCRemix front here, the main reason why I wanted to talk about this specific subject, the individual Final Fantasy songs are great. There's a ton of great ones out there. There are times when collaborators come together to make legitimate albums together. It's kind of like a fan work compilation, if you will. So I'd like to point you to such an album, or I guess that's not really what I should call it, because it's kind of a project. It's a concept of multiple albums, and that's for Final Fantasy V. It's known as the Fabled Warriors. All in all, it's going to be 4 albums. And they each are going to focus on a particular crystal and the jobs represented within that crystal. It's a very, very cool concept, and obviously it's kind of the same idea that I've got for this channel. Even though it focuses on one crystal and then the jobs for those crystals, you're going to have main character themes mixed in, so it's just a very evocative kind of piece of Final Fantasy V, which you don't really hear a lot about Final Fantasy V stuff. Maybe this should have gone in the Final Fantasy V month, but definitely go and check that out. Right now, there is the Wind album that's been released. That actually released several years ago, and I thought it was all but dead, but the Water album actually did come out last year, so they are still actively working on it, and they're great. They're absolutely fantastic. Oh yeah, before I leave the OCRemix stuff, all of this is free. Like, you don't have to pay anything. These are just what people put out there in their free time, so definitely go and check it out, especially if you like video game music. There's really no reason not to. And next up was something that was introduced to me several years ago, and I am still impressed to this day, and that's a site known as shopflashbackgames.com, and we are not an affiliate or anything, but the reason I want to focus on them is they sell a bunch of different kind of hacked or reprogrammed carts. Specifically, what I want to talk about, though, is the hack of the NES games. So, for those that don't know, or if you didn't watch any of my earlier videos, we did not get Final Fantasy 2 or 3 out here in the West on the Super Nintendo, and it's why all that crazy name debacle happened with the Final Fantasy 4 being released as 2, and God, I thought I was over-mentioning that, but it comes back in the most weirdest of ways. Anyway, beyond that point, what people have done is they've gotten together and they've made English translations of these ROMs of Final Fantasy 2 and 3. And this is one of the coolest things. As the fan community got together back in the early 90s, they started hacking these ROMs for Final Fantasy 2 and 3 whenever ROMs became a huge deal. So you fast forward to now, and here you can actually buy these games. These Final Fantasy 2 and 3 in English, transposed from Japanese, just by the community. You can get the cart and play it legitimately on your Nintendo Entertainment System, your NES. The quality here is what really impresses me, because I've seen these a lot of times, but here, the games come with a box and a manual. It would be just like opening an original NES game. And this site just isn't about those two. There are a ton of things out there. A lot of them are hacks, games that were remade in such a specific way that they use their original assets, but Other than that, what I do want to point out specifically as well is that they have Final Fantasy V in English for the Super Nintendo, and there's some other true hacks, like I said, that change the games entirely. For instance, there's a Final Fantasy VI kind of Eternal Crystal hack. You know, people got together and made their own sequels or whatever have you, and one community got together, the Final Fantasy VII community, and they created a demake that is a remake that is in the 8-bit retro style of Final Fantasy VII itself, which is absolutely amazingly impressive. So those are a few more of the fan works that I really wanted to get to because they definitely deserve any kind of credit that anyone can get to them. And hopefully it'll spark your interest. You can get them and play them and enjoy them for yourself, or I highly recommend you buying them from here. It's all about the quality, guys. It's so good. And going back, if you have listened to OCRemix or any of the music from Final Fantasy on there, let me know what your favorite song is, because there's just, like I said, a ton of them, and it's really cool to hear different people's opinions on them. Next time, we're going to properly dive into the Ivalice Alliance project with an overview and a plan of this whole endeavor covering Ivalice. So as always, until next time, Crystal Warriors, keep on gaming.